for a will to be valid in Ontario, you need, or a power of attorney, you need two adults. That is neither your spouse nor the beneficiary witnessing you sign,
Okay.
like all three of you in the same, like seeing each other sign, and then you can then have like something called an affidavit where one person, I was there, I saw the other witness sign, I saw the testator sign, the testator also saw us sign. So that is fine, right? It's a valid will.
Can that be done virtually?
Yes, they've now you can, but it's still, all of you still has to be in. For example, as we're looking at one another in the Zoom,
Okay.
all three of us has to be there, camera tilted. We are watching the signature.
Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast with Paul Adeyeye. This is where we share powerful stories of resilience, reinvention, transformation, and success. So whether you're a new immigrant, navigating a new life, or an aspiring entrepreneur looking for inspiration, this podcast is for you. Join me as we dive into real conversations with incredible individuals who have turned challenges into opportunities. Let's learn, grow, and thrive together. Cheers to a life of... Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Thriving Immigrant Podcast. My name is Paul Adeyeye, and I'm excited to host you one more time. First off, I want to say a big thank you to God for this opportunity. If you are a new subscriber, thank you for tuning in. Please hit the subscription button and share this with someone. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you for always tuning in to listen to these stories. Today's conversation is a different conversation. It's a very important conversation that I think everyone should hear. So if you are listening to this right now, if you know someone that is planning to build wealth in North America, in Canada precisely, share this episode with them. I'm joined with Fikemi. Fikemi is a lawyer, but before I introduce Fikemi, in Canada, everybody comes here to build wealth. We all know that there's a lot we can achieve when we move to a new country. However, a lot of people don't pay attention to how to preserve, protect, and even transfer that wealth. That is where estate planning comes in. I get a lot of DMs every day about different things about estate planning, and I've been looking for someone who is qualified to speak on this topic. Luckily for me, I found a seasoned lawyer who is Fikemi. She's also my friend, and I've been trying to reach out for a while. She finally said, okay, fine, let's do this. So I'm really excited about today's conversation. You are going to get so much value from this conversation. So Fikemi is a lawyer. She was called to Ontario Bar over 5 years ago, and she's been practicing law, helping families every day with wills, powers of attorney, and some of the things that most people don't even pay attention to. So join me in welcoming Fikemi to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast. I wish I had a bell.
Thank you, Paul. I'm so excited to be here. And just a correction, I have not been hiding. I've been busy.
Okay.
Busy man.
Fikemi has been busy. Okay, that's a good one.
So I'm excited that we are finally doing this because it's a very crucial topic that a lot of immigrants shy away from, or they don't even want to talk about. So I'm happy to answer all the questions and throw more light on this. But before we proceed, I would have to issue a disclaimer that, because of course I'm a lawyer, so I don't want to get any liability. Every information that I'm providing here today is for information purposes only. It is not legal advice. It should not be taken as legal advice. If you have anything peculiar that you want to ask, contact your lawyer and they can give you advice, or you can contact me, whichever one works best for you. But please do not take it as legal advice. Just take it as an information session. Thank you so much.
Noted. Thank you for starting with that. Okay. So do you want to walk us through your immigration journey?
Oh, my immigration journey. Okay. So I left Nigeria, I think 2011, to go do my master's degree in Dublin, Ireland. So I did my master's degree in international human rights law because I always had this view of I want to be an international lawyer, work with the UN, UNICEF, and all of those things. So I went to Dublin, did my master's. I graduated in 2013. And then in 2014, um, at that, I got married also in 2013, just after my master's degree. And we're thinking, where should we go? My husband wanted to go to the US. And I said, I don't like US because of the guns and all of that. And then it's too fast paced. And he doesn't want to come to Europe either because, again, he said it's boring, there's too many people, whatnot. So Canada was a compromise. It was like US without the hustle and bustle. So we decided to relocate to Canada. So we started planning in 2014, and in 2015, we both relocated to Canada. And yeah, I've been in Canada since 2015 till date.
Does it feel like you've been here for 10 years?
I know, right? And funny enough, I had both my kids here, and I'm like, okay, this is home for me now. I don't think
Absolutely.
the the strength to start moving, even to another province, is just too much. I'm done and dusted, I think, but never say never.
Never say never. Thank you for sharing your story. Happy 10-year anniversary. They call it anniversary. Is that what they call it?
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's really interesting that time really flies. Like you just look back and you'll be like, really? I've been here for this long? Oh, wow. Okay. So you've been practicing law in Canada for over 5 years.
Yes.
Amazing. Let's talk about estate planning. To be fair, or in all fairness, I would say for someone like me, I don't think I ever came across that word until I moved to Canada. Like it just didn't pop up on anything. And when I moved to Canada, of course, there were some new topics that I was learning. Not like estate planning is not a global word for, but maybe for lack of opportunity, I didn't just tell about it. And I know that there are a lot of people, especially young people, who don't pay attention to things like this. So, what exactly is estate planning?
Okay. First of all, let me walk you back. You probably have heard about estate planning, but you just know it as wills. Everybody in Nigeria, and then you think it's something that only rich men,
Exactly.
wealthy, would
Yeah. The chiefs, the allergies.
exactly. And then also we had our own succession in Nigeria for every tribe or every city that has their own tradition on how they pass things across. So estate plan is pretty much putting your affairs in order. So to break it down a little bit, when they say estate, while you are alive, it is called assets, all your assets that you need, that you have, either tangible or intangible. That's things you can grab onto and things that are maybe intellectual or you can't see it with your eye, but it's your asset. Now, when you die, it's no longer called an asset, it's called your estate,
Okay, first thing to note.
right?
Thank you.
So
Okay,
assets become your estate
estate.
when you pass on. Now, when you are alive, you want to be able to choose where those things go to, right? You want to know, you want to choose if you are giving it to your child, if you're giving it to a dependent, if you're giving it to a parent, a sibling, whoever it is. And those people are called your beneficiaries, right?
Okay.
So people that will benefit from this estate that you have accumulated while you were alive. Now, estate planning is just that, putting those things effectively in place so that upon your demise, your wishes are brought to reality. So, for example, let's say your tradition, now going back to, because we are Nigerians, going back to the Nigerian way, where maybe your tradition, only the male inherits from their parents,
Okay.
whereas that is different here. So, and maybe you want your daughters to also get a good chunk of what you have that you have accumulated. Now, it is your duty as a parent to put all of those into your will, saying, okay, my house located in Ottawa, I'm giving it to Sholakbe. My house, my car in Toronto, I'm giving it to this person. So you are itemizing everything you own and you're saying, these are the people that should have it. So it reduces the possibility of friction, of cost
Okay.
upon your debt. Another reason why people would also do estate planning is also, because of taxes. Because we are in Canada, again,
Yeah, that's
tax
that
every,
one. That one I'm passionate about it.
they tax everything. And unfortunately, even when you're dead, they tax your dead body. So to speak, they tax you.
Hmm.
So, what are the efficient ways also to make sure that the little thing that you have left behind it's not all, half of it is not carted away in taxes, so that you can at least get to the beneficiaries so that they can take advantage. These are things that we'll talk about as you continue throughout this podcast.
Thank you so much. That was a very beautiful introduction. And I would say that so it is not automatic that somebody passes away and all his properties will be shared with his kids or his family members. So there's a need to always assign a beneficiary.
There is, it's not automatic, but there's something called the Succession Law Reform Act.
Okay.
What that does is the government decides how your estate is being administered. Now, to just give you a hierarchy, there's a hierarchy. So, first of all, let me backtrack a little bit. If you die with an estate plan, maybe with a will and everything goes smoothly. People follow what's in your will, provided it is not contested by other people.
Right.
However, if you die without an estate plan, without a will, they call it you died intestate. So you will. So in other words, the law that then applies to the division of your estate is called the Succession Law Reform Act. And what that does is it has a hierarchy of who can get what. For example, it says if you are married, right, 350, like the preferential share goes to your wife. So, for example, preferential share as at 2 years ago was increased to 350,000. So, if your estate is worth 350,000, for example, or not more than 300, your wife takes everything. Now, if it's more than that, then the next hierarchy is if you are married and you have children, then your children, whatever is left after the preferential share has been taken away, whatever share is divided now between your wife. Sorry, I keep saying wife, maybe because I'm talking to you.
Your
Your spouse
spouse.
is shared among your spouse
Okay.
and your
The
children. So
children.
let me walk you back. Let's use 100,000 because it's easy to do the math. 100,000 is what you're worth, and your spouse got the preferential share of 35,000. Now you have 65,000 left. Out of that 65,000, your spouse and your children will then divide that equally. So your spouse is still getting extra on top
Right.
of their share. Then the next hierarchy is maybe you don't have a spouse. If you don't have a spouse, then your children divide it equally. If you don't have children, then whoever is a family member can go to the court and try to lay claims on something. If none of that exists, for example, those of us that are immigrants and nobody even knows what we have here in the country, then
Right.
unfortunately it goes to the Ontario government. So the government then owns everything. It's gone.
So how long will the government hold it for before sending it to the Ontario government? Like if somebody comes after maybe 5 years and says, "Oh, my dad passed 5 years ago, and for some reason you couldn't reach me, but I just realized that if he had a lot of wealth that he left behind,
Mhm.
and you guys are with it, can I still claim it?"
Well, I would say that for everything there's a statute of limitation, right? This particular question is new because I've never had to look into it, but I know that there will be a time limit, and if the asset is still existent at the time you come, I
Right.
believe you'll be able to get it. But if it's been diminished, for example, it's a house, it's been there for 10 years, the government has now sold it off in an auction, the money is gone. There's nothing
Hmm.
claims to, which is why that estate planning comes into being. Now, something I didn't mention, if
Yeah.
you realize that everything I've been saying your spouse, your children, you didn't hear anybody else. You didn't hear your dependent. You didn't hear your common law spouse. For a lot of people that only did traditional marriage and they've been in this country, they are not covered under the Succession Law Reform Act. A child that you adopted, that you didn't adopt, you didn't completely adopt, the child just lives with you since they were small, you never did a legal adoption,
They're
and maybe
not
that
covered.
you have, they don't get anything.
Hmm.
You have to go through a lot of court processes and try to, tell them I am a dependent and show proof that I have been a dependent of this person I've been getting. It's a lot of headache that you don't want your dependents to go through. So, or maybe there's a particular person that you are in a business together and you have said, you know what, if I die, I'm going to give you this particular thing. But unfortunately, you die without a will. That person can't lay claims on anything. It's again going to be a long court process, which may or may not
Favor.
result. So that's why you plan ahead of time.
Oh, wow. You've said a lot in the last 10 minutes. Honestly, it's been an amazing conversation so far. Thank you for all those things you've shared. I was going to ask you what are the major misconceptions that people have about estate planning, but I think you've touched on some of them by like the one you just mentioned, saying that if it's just by traditional marriage and maybe you have a cousin or someone living with you, but you didn't do the proper thing, not legally documented, those people may not be recognized.
Yeah.
Are there
So
any other misconceptions that you think people?
there is a lot of misconception. And the first one is that you have to be old before you draft a will.
Yeah,
That's a big misconception. Because when I talk to people, they say, do you want to kill me? Like I'm going to die. What kind of talk is this? Right? But the truth is, there is no, once you are over the age of 18 and you own something to your name,
you should
in
have a will.
your bank account, maybe you have $500 there. You see that $500, if anything happens to you, your dependents, your family cannot get access to it until they go to court
Hmm.
and file for probate without a will. Which then, how much is in the account? $500. Why do they have to pay a lawyer $5,000 to go to court just for 500? So they abandon that, and your money is gone. Something that somebody else would have been able to take advantage of, right?
Right.
So from the age of 18, there's the reason why the law states that from 18 years old, you can now get your will and your power of attorney, right? And it is very important that when you get married or when you start having children or when you buy your first property, to put a will in place.
Hmm.
That's the first misconception, that you have to be old. Second one is you have to be rich. It's for the wealthy. That's not true. As I just mentioned now, even the $50 in your account, nobody can have access to it except with the court order if you do not have a will designating somebody
Right.
as the beneficiary of it, right? Then the next one, in fact, there are so many misconceptions,
Let me
right?
let me stop you there shortly because you talked about power of attorney, and maybe because there's power in it and there's attorney in it, it's sounding sounded like two big words that were combined together. So, what is power of attorney?
Okay. So the easier way, because I like to break things down in a way that is not just legal jargons, that
Yeah,
people understand.
and you've been doing a fantastic job so far.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So if you say what, if you want to say power of attorney, it's pretty much, I can liken it, don't quote me, I can liken it to an agent, your agent. Whatever you can do, your agents can do, right? So if your agent can apply for school on your behalf, right? A power of attorney can do the same. So it's giving the powers that you have to somebody called an attorney, so that in case you become incapable,
Hmm.
that person has those powers and can act on your behalf.
Okay.
So it's like your agent, you're given the power in anticipation that if something happens to me and I'm not dead, that person can
Okay.
have.
Yeah, I was going to ask what's the definition of being incapable? So the person is still alive but cannot make some decisions due to maybe health challenges.
Yes.
Okay.
Mental incapacity could be one of them. Health challenges could be one of them. Sickness. Some people are going through chemotherapy and all of that, and they cannot physically do some activities by themselves. Or maybe loss of a limb. Now you
Hmm.
can't find anymore because you were in the war and your fingers were cut off. This person can do it for you. All right. So a lot of things, provided you are not dead. Power of attorney
Right.
act is in force only while you are alive, but either you are incapable or you are unable. So there's
Interesting.
a difference in incapable. Incapable, you cannot do it. Mentally, physically, you cannot do it. And if the other side is you are unable, probably you're out of the country and you have
Right.
purchase closing that is going to happen, then you can give a power of attorney to someone in that country to help you complete, sign all the papers and complete it. Right? So that's you are unable.
Thank you. This has been insightful. So if you are loving this, please subscribe to this channel, share this with someone, put a comment. I don't know where you're listening from. You might be listening from maybe YouTube or Spotify or Apple. And Fikemi is going to share her contacts. You can follow her on Instagram. She's going to share all those details. But I've been loving this so far. Power of attorney. I want to take you back a little bit. Can anyone be power of attorney, or do they have to be like a legal, like a lawyer? Like you are a lawyer. When people want to assign power of attorney, do they need to go to a lawyer and assign that lawyer as a power of attorney, or they can assign anyone, but they just need a lawyer to bind it?
Okay, I want you to disregard the attorney. It's not a legal attorney, right? It's not like a lawyer. The
Yeah.
attorney just for because I can't say it's an agent, right? So they call the person an attorney. It could be your child, it could be
Okay.
your parent, it could be your spouse, it could be your friend, it could be a cousin, it could be any family member, it could be an external person, it could be your boss, right? So provided the person is over the age of 18
Hmm.
and you trust this person, because you are giving them pretty much the power to do whatever in your name, which will be your liability if anything happens or if anything goes wrong.
Can you easily withdraw your power of attorney from someone?
Yeah, you can revoke it. So it's a document, right?
Okay.
Create, and then you provide a copy. So wherever the person is going to act on your behalf, they will provide that copy saying this is a document, all the powers that you have given to them is there. You can also restrict the powers that you give them. So a power of attorney could be, I'm only giving you power to act on the sale of this purchase, only the sale of this property only, and nothing more. Some,
Hmm.
I give you the power to do everything, but you cannot vote in my company. You get, so you can restrict powers. You can give as much power as possible. The only power you cannot give is power for them to draft your will on your behalf, because only you can draft your will. Now, with regards to revocation, it's the same format. You have to have the mental capacity to do so.
Hmm.
Where you must have capacity to draft it in the first place. And then
Right.
so document where you are revoking the power either completely and not appointing a new person, or revoking and appointing a new power of attorney. All right. So yes, you can revoke it, but you have to have that mental capacity to do so. And if you have shared that power of attorney to certain companies in the past, they wouldn't know if you don't also share that revocation to them to say this person is no longer acting on my behalf. This is the revocation.
Thank you, Fikemi. You've broken it down. I don't think it can be better explained. Thank you. So, this has been very interesting. I wanted to ask you about probate taxes. What exactly is probate tax? And I don't, for people listening, I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of information. And I really love how Fikemi has been breaking things into pieces. But I know that there's also something called probate taxes in Canada. Do you want to speak a little bit to us on that?
Oh, it's called an estate tax. So when you do, there are two things, right? Remember, I mentioned you might die with a will because you have drafted your will, or you might die without a will. Now, if you have drafted your will, and let's say there's real property, so you have real estate, or you have a certain bank account that has been assigned to somebody, in that case, or bequeathed to someone, they might need, for if they're just taking over the property, that's fine. But if they have to sell it, they have to ask for probate, because land is involved. You have to ask for probate in order to be able to sell that property. But if you're just going
Hmm.
in it, you might not need to. So that's done and dusted. It's yours. You're good. But if you have to sell it to somebody else, nobody's going to buy your property without seeing a court order saying yes, you are the rightful uh, owner
Oh,
of that.
no.
So you have to go through probate. If you died without a will, which you died intestate, for you to even administer the will at all, administer the estate at all, you have to do probate. Go to court. Whoever is going to be the estate representative will go to court, fight it out, blah, 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 get that probate. So, in other words, if you have a will, you might be able to avoid probate if there's no real property or there's no sale of property.
Hmm.
If you die intestate, you cannot escape probate at all.
I
Now,
see.
probate, you remember when I said that even when you die, you're going to be charged taxes. Now, probate, when you go to court, they would check the value of your property, or you will give them the value of that property as at the time the person died. So let's say it was $1 million. There's
Okay.
a tax that would be charged that at the end of it all, you have to pay to the court as your estate taxes. Now, back in the day, it was every single dollar was charged. However, I think in 2021 or thereabout 2022, don't quote me again on the date, there's a new law that says the first 50,000 will not be taxed.
Okay, in Ontario.
Yeah, there will be taxes. So it used to be the first 50,000, 5,000 on $5 on every $1,000.
Hmm.
After 50,000, $15 on every $1,000. So you can do the math. If you have $1,000,000, that's a lot of money that you're paying to the government as your estate tax.
Oh, wow. So it's even expensive to die.
It is. So it's not a way to go. So you pay that taxes. But now, because of a lot of people have small estate, less
Right.
than 1,000, it's just brutal to still take $5 of every.
On
So they have brought in that law. They have amended the law to say the first 50,000 no taxes, but then after that you pay your $15 on every $1,000.
Okay. So for those who are really interested in building wealth, who are buying properties, they must put things in place to prevent them. I don't know if that's the right word, to prevent a lot of money going back to the government in taxes. Or are there anything apart from setting up wills? Are there like some accounts, maybe like TFSA at death that don't go through?
Most accounts still go through probate, right?
Hmm.
So what we do when we do estate planning to make sure that you can't run away from taxes, no matter how effective you are in planning, but you can reduce unnecessary taxes.
Right.
So, for example, the things that can be designated to a beneficiary while you are alive should be designated. One of the things could be, again, you mentioned TFSA or RRSP or something like that. If it says you can designate a beneficiary, then you can designate a beneficiary and it will pass directly to
But
that.
okay, it's going to bypass.
Yes, it will by,
Okay.
because, for example, it's like life insurance, right? Life insurance, if you designate someone as the beneficiary, it doesn't go through probate. It comes to that person directly as the beneficiary.
I
If your
see.
children are little, just so that you are wise, we would advise you how about, apart from putting your children as beneficiary, also designate trustee. Because if you pass on and your children are under the age of 18, they can't get this right away. So at least it can go to the trustee, and then the trustee can then use it for the benefit of the children. So
Right.
that's something that can pass outside of the will that you can designate. Some people, this one I say, and I say with a lot of caution, some people will add their children already to property as joint tenants so that when they die, it automatically becomes theirs. Now, very risky as well, because if your child is irresponsible, they can sell your house because they are the owner of the house, right?
Hmm.
Sell the house while you're in it and you are confused about what's going on when somebody's moving in on a particular day. So I say with a lot of caution, but people also use this as a way to directly transfer their wealth to a
To their
child.
children.
There's also situations where people will create a trust, right? Where they transfer while they're still alive, they transfer all their assets into a particular trust for the benefit of themselves and their beneficiaries. And while they're alive, they manage the trust, but assign a subsequent trustee so that upon their passing, they don't have to go through the probate system, so that, again, the trust continues to control everything they own. Now, remember, taxes are everywhere.
Yeah.
Has been cracking down on all of these loopholes that people are using. And
Hmm.
in 2022 or 2023, the CRA has also brought a T3 form, T3, where you have to report every trust. And if the trust is making money, you have to add it to your income and then pay tax on that. So in this case, you now have to weigh your poison or choose your poison. Which
Right.
would I pay more tax on, and which one would I pay less tax on? Because every year, I would just say, even just the way I'm doing a podcast, let's say I'm giving you tips and tricks on things that you can do. Guess what? CRA is also listening to that podcast, and they say,
Yeah. Listen.
oh,
So
okay.
this
This
is
is,
so
so
this one is still there.
yeah. So they will go back and tweak it. So unfortunately, since social media has become a big deal, they are
Right.
clamping down on these different avenues. So it's about, what do you have And is it reasonable to go this particular estate planning route? And that's why you have to first of all discuss with your lawyer, and not just your lawyer, discuss with your accountant, because your accountant, and not just an accountant that is knowledgeable in this
Mm.
access,
Yeah.
trust, in estate planning, those kind of things, so they can work hand in hand with your lawyer. So when I see people come to me and say, "Oh, I heard this thing on Instagram, and they say you can transfer things into a trust and blah blah blah, and you don't have to pay estate," I'm like, "Okay, if you say so." And they're so
They're so confident about it.
of this, and a lot of these things are for the US.
Exactly.
A
Yeah.
lot of things are for the US that in Canada might not necessarily work. And there's some
Mm.
that are talking about this trust that they don't even own a shoebox in their name. So in that case, how do you put something in trust when you don't,
When you don't own it.
right?
Yeah.
Some of us, we have truly the bank owns our homes, right? Because we have a,
Technically
so for you to even move a house that you don't own into a trust, you have to get the consent,
difficult.
and they might not give it because
Y-
they don't trust that their money will be recovered back. What if you die and then the trust lay claims on it? So a lot of times that might not be the right way to go. If you bought your house cash, or you're almost done paying your property, or you are wealthy and affluent, then trust might be the best way, right? So there's a lot of things, but to mention for all of you watching that are always talking about trust instead of a will. Trust is one thing, a will is another. The trust cannot do the work of a will.
Will. I think you should
Whereas it
say that again.
can have a trust in it. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I think you should say that again. A trust cannot
It
do the work of the will,
cannot.
and a will will not do the work of the trust
It cannot, but it can have a trust in
in
it,
it.
right? Because the trust that you're doing now is the one you're doing while you're alive. You can also assign trust into your will so that when you die, your property can be put into a trust for the benefit of your children that are less than 18, or children that have a disability of some sort, or
Hmm.
just for a family. So you can say, "This is my house. I want it to be put in trust for the children, never to be sold. And whatever rent is coming from there should be used to pay for tuition of." You can just create a trust within your will, and it comes into life when you become alive. When you die.
Okay.
For the will, as I said before, I said you can't use the trust to not have a will, because the will covers things such as your burial. If you want to be cremated, you want to be buried, you have things like that. Your wishes for burial can be there.
Hmm.
Guardianship of your children, if your children are less than the age of 18, you don't want them to be put in the system. You want to be able to appoint someone that you trust, that the children can see as a parent, or that the government will give the children to take care of them until they attain the age of majority.
I see.
So there's a lot of things. If you have a child that is dependent, you can create a trust for that child. It's called a Henson trust. You can create it for that child so that when you die, things don't just get vested on the child. It is put in a trust for his benefit so that it's not squandered, or he doesn't lose other benefits from the government. There's a lot of things that can be put in your will that the trust cannot, pretty much cannot do.
This has been, I don't want to say it's a lot. You've shared so many nuggets. It's just like a masterclass on estate planning. Thank you so much for breaking things down. You talked about life insurance, and I'm also an insurance advisor. So that's one of the things I love to share with I help my clients with. Like, life insurance is a good estate planning tool. Of course, you know that regardless of the amount that you purchase, it's not going to pass through, it's not going to go through probate. And as long as you designate a beneficiary, that money goes to the beneficiary. And I was also going to ask you, like, the the word estate planning, people feel like it's is a lot, and they feel like I don't even have anything. Why should I be talking to a lawyer about estate planning? Are there things that people can do on their own without even speaking to it?
I don't advise.
Okay,
Online there are a lot of they call it will kits.
right.
Create your own will within 30 minutes. The thing is, yes, there are will kits out there that are pre-written and then there's dash where you put your name. But the thing is, if you don't understand the rules, if you don't understand the law regarding validity of a will, you might do it all wrong and you don't even know that you did it all wrong. And then upon your passing, the court will say that this will is invalid. For example, for a will to be valid in Ontario, you need, or a power of attorney, you need two adults. That is not either your spouse nor the beneficiary witnessing you sign,
Okay.
like all three of you in the same, like seeing each other sign, and then you can then have like something called an affidavit where one
Mhm.
person, I was there, I saw the other witness sign, I saw the testator sign, the testator also saw us sign. So that is fine, right? It's a valid will.
Can that be done virtually?
Yes, they've now you can, but it's still all of you still has to be in. For example, as we're looking at one another in the Zoom,
Okay. Okay.
all three of us has to be there, camera tilted. We are watching the signature,
Interesting.
right? So it can be signed with counterparts like that, and all three will still form one document. But all of that came into being, of course, during the pandemic. So we
Yeah.
permanent, or they're going to later on. Just now that they are calling people back to the office, maybe they're going to say, you know what, there's a
No
lot of
more.
these things, so we're scrapping it. But yes, they do that, but it still has to be the same. All of us must see all of us sign. But
Hmm.
yes, you might not know. You might just know, oh, I need two witnesses because it says witness one, witness two, and then you bring your spouse and your son to come and sign.
It will be invalid.
So there's a lot of things. So if somebody contests that will, they'll say, oh, that there was undue influence, there was a duress from the spouse to make sure that you sign. So, and the court will see it in their way. So knowing things, and sometimes you don't even know your peculiar situation. I mentioned something about you having a child that has disability.
Mhm.
You might not even know anything about a Henson Trust. Now, all of a sudden, this person is on ODSP, and then all of a sudden they just gain, upon your passing, they gain 50,000. And because of that, now they no longer qualify for ODSP. They
Hmm.
take the right precaution to put a Henson trust so that whatever they get from your estate doesn't vest on them to the extent that they are losing other benefits. So there's a lot of things that I'll say, please, it's not that expensive. It's something that you're going to do for like for your loved ones. Don't cheap out on it.
Please don't chip out on it.
Don't.
Thank you. Thank you, Fikemi. Can you spell the Ensign Trust? It's
Ensign is
okay.
HENSON.
Ensign Trust. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
So there's a lot of things that,
There
but
is.
I find not on people's, it's on people's back burner. They be like, why should I pay this to do this? But then I know I've seen in the last year till now, especially within the Nigerian community. Of course, I'm not, for confidentiality reasons, I can't mention, but I can tell you that I've seen a lot
Hmm.
of people come after the fact that the husband died, was involved in an accident. Now, what should we do? What can I
What
can't really
can I do?
point.
Yeah. What can I do? It is
I can't
always it's
really point.
always the best to be proactive and prevent and try your best to put yourself in a good position in case something goes wrong. When I speak to people about life insurance for confidentiality's sake, I've had few cases whereby we wish we had done it earlier.
Hmm.
We wish we had done it earlier. So somebody, we had a conversation. He was going to get the insurance, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to come back to you." In less than 1 year, the husband passed. Now the husband got sick, and at the point where the husband was sick, I think they had seen that things are no longer promising, so they reached out for the insurance. But it was already late.
Late.
It was already late. So it's always good to be proactive, plan ahead, and just put things in order. Some people don't even know the price; they just don't want to even start the conversation.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
last year, some group of people reached out to me. They were going to have a end of the year party, and they said, you know, I want you to come and talk about immigration. So for those who know me, I practice in immigration, real estate, family law, and then wills and estate. So they were like, come and talk about immigration. I said, no, I don't want to talk about immigration. A lot of people are already in
In
the
the
country
country.
and they're already seeing how this, like, there's a lot of information. But the part I want to talk about is estate planning, because in this year I have seen over 10 people from our community suffer
Yeah.
the loss of a spouse. And now they are looking to me to say, okay, what do I do? Or now they're kind of doing like repairing what has already been destroyed. So, for example, your spouse died. Now you're saying, you know what my eyes saw, I don't want my children's eyes to see. Now, can you do estate planning for just me?
Mm.
You could have done it as a couple earlier. So I tell people, I said, no, I want to talk about estate planning because I feel like our community, they don't know about these things and they don't know
Yeah.
how the impact can be. Oh, the lady said, okay, that's true, that's true. Talking about that, this has happened to someone I know recently at
Mm.
work. Okay, I'll talk to them. And then she came back and she was very embarrassed. And they said, oh, it's
Not
supposed to be a happy event, end of the year, but I don't want to be talking about death and
death and all that.
they declined. I said, that's fine. But then somebody could have learned something that day. Who knows from that guy? Maybe somebody has even died today. We don't know.
People die every day.
Every day. But you rather put the festivities up rather than, oh, we don't want to scare people so that they can come again next year. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And that's the same approach that a lot of people take. This is a gathering of a lot of people where children will be there so that it will sink in better that
Right.
so that could happen to my children, to my spouse, and they would want to think about it. But they're like, oh, no, we don't want to talk about sad things. So they left it. So
Yeah.
conversation is very difficult. I
It
always
is.
have bad news.
Yeah.
And when, oh, do you have a will? And they're like, please.
I beg, please. Yeah, it is a difficult but necessary conversation. So a lot of people get uncomfortable when you talk about it, and we're not going to be here forever. So there's nothing you can do about it. And what makes it very important for us is the average immigrant is hardworking. He wants to build wealth. The average immigrant, if you come to this country and you know what you are doing, and you maybe pass away after 20 years, there's a strong chance that you would have built and accumulated good amount of wealth.
Yes.
So if you are just the type that you are not ambitious, you just want, maybe the risk is not so high, but if you are the type that you put in a lot of work, you build wealth, you accumulate wealth, then you are just doing yourself a disservice by not preserving that wealth and having this conversation with a lawyer. So if you are listening to me right now, Fikemi will be happy to guide you. This is what she does. She's a brilliant lawyer. She's been doing this for a long time. She's experienced. She knows, she understands the culture. How, she understands our own way of life as a community. So you will want to reach out to Fikemi. So Fikemi, please, can you share your contacts, your Instagram handle, your website, everything where they can find you?
Okay. So my my Facebook, my Instagram is just at Fikemis Law. Fikemislaw at Fikemis Law. On LinkedIn, it's Fikemis Law. And my website is www.fikemislaw.com. The phone number is 647-228-1130. I'll say it one more time. 647-228-1130. And our email address is info@fikemislaw.com. Info@fikemislaw.com. And just I noticed just now that I didn't specify the types of power of attorney that we have.
Okay.
So for a basic, for people that are starters, they don't have a lot of wealth at this time, but at least they want to, protect what they have right now. There's something called a simple will. It doesn't specify every single thing you have. It's just saying, okay, this is my executor. That's the person that would administer your estate upon your passing. These are my beneficiaries. It could be children, friends, whoever it is. And now it's not specifying the asset because maybe at that time you don't have it.
Mm.
So it's going to say anything I own, put it into 100 shares and then divide it between, let's say, 4 people, Shola, Isabel, and the other 2 people
Right.
at 5 shares each. So in that case, it has covered everything. It's kind of like a residual clause, which I put into
Mm.
my draft. So it takes care of a lot of things. So when they're able to gather, your executor is able to gather everything you own upon your demise, they don't have to wonder who gets what. They can, say, okay,
It's easy
this is
for them to
$1
work
million.
it out.
You said 25 shares to each person, that's 250,000. After we have paid all the debts, paid burial expenses, everything else, then we share it in this amount of shares to all these people. And I also don't stop there. I also put something called the wipeout clause in my will drafting. And what a wipeout clause is, if all your beneficiaries are wiped out within the 30 days of your demise, God forbid a plane crash, a car crash, you still have property. Do you just want it to go to Ontario? So in that case, I put someone. It could be a parent, it could be siblings, it could be a charity.
Right.
It should then go to these people. If all of these people predecease me or they die within 30 days of my passing, I don't still want it to just go anywhere. I want it to still go to someone that is of my own choosing because I worked for it.
That makes sense.
And again, people always forget the charities. A lot of us, when we came to this country, we gained one or two things from some charities. It's also,
Yeah.
and giving back could be from your will, saying, okay, upon my demise, $5,000, I'm giving it to,
Maybe for cancer research or anything.
just make sure you put their, what's they called? Charitable organization number.
Okay.
Or which exact one. So now back to what I was saying about your estate planning. So let's say you don't have anything, according to you, think you don't have anything. 3 documents are very important.
Yeah.
Your will, and I said a simple will. And then your powers of attorney. I said powers of attorney because it's more than one. There are 2 major ones. One is your power of attorney for personal care. Anything that has to do with your person, your dressing, your feeding, hospitalization, those kind of things. You select someone to be your attorney. So when you're at so if you watch all those American movies or ER movies and they're asking who is the substitute decision maker, because at that time you are under the knife. They want somebody to sign. Whoever you have designated that they will call. Right? Of course, there's hierarchy as to, in case you don't have one, people that they will follow, your spouse, your parents, your spouse, before they get you. But you can assign somebody, and this is your opportunity to also determine what exactly you want to be done to your person if you are incapable to do so. For example, if you have cancer and families love you so much, you are on life support, they're not going to let you go. You're going to be on that life support until thy kingdom come. Whereas you don't want to suffer. You can say, do not resuscitate me if there is no hope of a survivor. You can put it in your power of attorney and they are bound to follow it. So you are planning, some people call it a living will. So you're giving your healthcare directive now that you're capable so that they don't have to do the guesswork. Some people will say, leave me on life support. So far, I am comfortable. So you can put all the things that you want, your decision, like take the decision and then assign someone as your attorney to do those decisions, to carry out those decisions on your behalf if you become incapable. So that's the power of attorney for personal care. Anything that has to do with, or if the person is disabled and now they need to put a ramp in their house, but they cannot do it themselves, that person will be the one going to different people, going to renew your health card, anything that has to do with your person, feeding, anything like that. And all this while I've been talking about, you have to be 18 to sign a will. You have to be 18 to draft a will. This is the only one that you can draft as early as 16 years old.
I see.
That's the one for personal care. And don't quote me, what I heard was back in the day during the war, a lot of people were sent to war as early as 16, right? So they were allowed to, again, don't quote me, they're allowed to draft it.
Okay.
Just to protect them in case they come back, a limb is gone, whatever, someone is there. That's what I heard. But the second one is your power of attorney. It's called a continuing power of attorney for property. Anything that has to do with finances, property, that's the one. You have to be 18 because most of these things involve the contract. And for you to be able to engage in a contract, you have to be the age of majority. So you can't draft it less than the age of 18. So those are the 2 power of attorney that is included in your estate planning. So now we have your simple will, You have your power of attorney for personal care, and you have your continuing power of attorney
Attorney.
for property. So now those two powers of attorney,
Right.
they take effect upon your incapacity and continue until you die. Once you die, the work is
Then,
done. Your will
mm, your will
and continues.
your will takes place. Your
Yes.
will comes into action and does the job.
Yes.
This this is nothing but a masterclass. Thank you, Fikemi. How often should we review our wills? Is this something we just do one time and
That's
we
the
give
fact.
away?
I see a lot of people when they come, they'll be like, oh, so they want to put everything in there. But the will, until you die, is a living document. You can, review it as much as you can. I always advise people the first sign that you have to review your will is if a major event occurs, the birth of a child,
Mm,
a marriage, or there's a falling out between you and your executor. That's a major event. Review it. Add this child, add this dependent, add this spouse. If none of this happens, right, then I say every 5 years, just review. Am I still comfortable with this thing that I'm giving this person? Am I still in good terms with this person? Do I now have more things that I want to specifically designate rather than just making it a simple will where I'm just saying whatever I own, split it into 100 shares and then split it, blah, 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 right? In this case, you might now say, I have this family heirloom that I want to pass to my first child. So I have to specifically mention it. At that point, you might now have a charity that you are now passionate about. You might want,
mm,
so I would say 5 years is a good place to just review it and say, okay, if everything is good, just leave it.
okay.
But a lot of people, they think it's a one and done thing. It's written in stone. In fact, in cast iron, you can't change it. But no, you can change that. And again, now talking about people that would do simple will because they can't afford to do anything more. But then in 5 years, probably you are an OG now. You won the lottery. You have $1 billion. Then
Mm,
the proper estate planning.
planning.
So I think that's a good.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much from you, even though I've been in this I won't say the industry, but of course, as a life insurance agent, there are so many things that I know, but I've learned so much from this conversation. Thank you, Fikemi. Do I still have one more question? And this is not even related to what we've been talking. What is the most powerful piece of advice that you've ever gotten and you think you'd like to share with someone? It doesn't have to be related to law or estate planning at all.
Okay. I would trust the process. Trust the process and keep doing what you're doing. So I remember when I just started my practice and the first 6 months I was not getting clients and it was pandemic had just started. Everywhere was shut down.
Oh, what a time to start a business.
Yeah, it was like a terrible time to get qualified in the first place, then to now start a business. So I was talking to a friend of mine that I've been doing that we got called around the same time and she was like, don't worry. And she kind of picked up fast. She was like, don't worry, the first 6 months, don't use me as a yardstick, but the first 6 months to 1 year, it's always like that. Just trust the process. Keep doing what you're doing. In my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, right. It's easy for you to say. Because I couldn't see that. And I'm always looking at this person is doing well. Does the person have two heads? Why am I not doing well? So anytime she says trust it, just trust the process. You see, trust the process. And truly, after that 6 months pass, I started getting one client from one client to the second client, and that client refers somebody, and truly things change. So I also tell people because I mentor a lot of people as
Okay.
not necessarily, but as peers because they see what I do and be like, oh, you know what? Can you put me through? I'm also starting my own practice and whatever. And when I tell them trust the process, I'm sure they felt the same way I felt when somebody was telling me a couple of years ago.
Right.
Some people cannot wait. After saying, you know what, I'm going to find a job doing this, which understandably so, as we said at the beginning, understandably so. But if you trust the process and you put all your effort into it, you would get you will come back on top and you will be able to share the testimony just as I am sharing mine right now.
Can we clap? Can we clap? Virtual clap for Fikemi. Thank you, Fikemi. Thank you for sharing that. It's very motivating because somebody might be listening to you right now, and maybe it's at the verge of should I do this, should I not? But Fikemi started, I would say, at the most uncomfortable time to start a business because the whole world shut down during COVID. That was the time you were called to bar and you were looking for clients, but you trusted the process, and here you are today. We are proud of you. You are really a thriving immigrant.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for letting your light shine. Thank you for being a thriving immigrant. For someone listening to you right now, and I don't want to put you on the spot, I'm just thinking that maybe a lot of people are thinking now, oh, I need to put my estate planning in place. Do you want to give them a discount when they come through the Thriving Immigrant podcast? If they mention your name, you don't need to mention the discount you want because we didn't talk about this, but please just give them special discount if they reach out for estate planning.
Okay. We currently have a Make a Will month because November is Make a Will month. And in order to encourage people, we normally do a package. And
Okay.
what's that package? You have your simple will, you have your two powers of attorney, and you have your affidavit of execution. And what we do is all these four documents, we do it at a package of $1,000 plus tax. So, but now we are almost getting to the end of the month. So, if you're coming from the podcast, I can extend it and give you the same amount.
Yay. Thank you, Fikemi, for being so generous. Thank you. So, because people might be listening to this maybe 1 year from now. So, anytime you listen to this, you already have a discount with Fikemi Law.
We'll give it 1 year
Okay.
so that it will not be.
Fik-
So,
I
from
see, I see, I see. I see what you just did. Yeah, you're actually a very smart lawyer. Because they might be listening to this 10 years from now. They will be coming for
let me specify November 2026. From
6.
November 2026, if you're doing, and as I said, simple will,
Simple will.
a more detailed will, then that's a different one. It's not included in the package. That one we charge our hourly rate based on the scope of work, right?
Right.
But if it is just a simple will, as I've explained throughout the process of this podcast, your two powers of attorney and the affidavit of execution, those four documents, we will do it for you at $1,000 plus tax anytime within this 1 year. Just mention that you're from this podcast.
Awesome. This has been a beautiful conversation, very insightful, so many nuggets, a lot of things to learn. I'm also going to go back to listen to this again. Thank you so much, Fikemi, for coming. On this note, I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to this podcast, why haven't you subscribed? So please subscribe, share this with someone. Let's continue to educate the community so we can build a thriving community. Thank you, everyone. Till I come your way again, stay thriving.